So Harry and Meghan are not telling us the truth. As I'm making this presentation, there's been a lot of fuss in the media because Prince Harry and his wife Meghan are about to release a television programme in which they are going to tell the truth. And of course today's presentation is all about what we mean by the truth and how the truth actually works, because that's a very difficult one, because as you may know, the controversy has been that people have said, but the trailers show that they're using false information, misinformation. And because we live in an age where fake news and people corrupting stories is very much there because of social media and the way it throws, I think it's important that we reflect on what we mean by the truth and how the truth actually works. So that when we're talking about Harry and Meghan, or we're talking about William and Kate, where we're talking about RMT strikes, where we're talking about the government's record, whatever we may be talking about, different people have different interpretations of what the truth actually means. As I'm giving this presentation, my old school is currently going through an Ofsted inspection. When Ofsted make a judgment, is the findings that they make the truth? Is it something which is reliably true in some sort of sense? Now, I come back to this quite a lot in these presentations, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit repetitive, but I think it bears thinking about. In philosophy, there's essentially two the truths that we can think about. One we call correspondence truth. Something's true because it relates to something else which is known. And that's not the one we're talking about here, is it? Because that's, in a sense, the easy one. Correspondence truth is like in things like science, where I drop something once, then the next time I come to drop it, the same thing happens, and therefore the two things correspond, so it's a correspondence truth. And of course that's how science works, and it's how many things in our observable universe works. But of course a lot of things don't work in that way. They work because we make sense of them. And that we would call a coherence truth. So religion tends to work on the basis of a coherence truth. Much of our relationships tend to work on coherence truth. And certainly, as we've come back to quite a lot in these presentations, a fair number of morals work on this idea of a coherence truth. Something makes sense because it makes sense in my mind, and that's what makes it true. Now, the trouble is, in the modern world, where there are many misinformations going on, where there is social media trying to manipulate and shape people's thinking, that coherence can be enormously affected by the things that are going on around us. So how do we, as modern reflective thinking people in the modern age, make sense of how we know things are true? Because we might think things about gender are true, we might think things about politics are true, we might think things about morality are true. But of course, how do we know that the truth that we're forming is a reliable and an objective one, and not that we've been manipulated in some way, or we've come out thinking of things? So when we're looking at Harry and Meghan's new television programme, or when we're watching The Crown, or whatever it might be, we can read into that all sorts of things about the dreadful life that Harry had as a child, and how his death of his mother's really affected things. And we can interpret things, and we can make sense. But of course, does that mean what he's now saying is true? Now, I'm not here saying it is or it isn't true. I don't think I can possibly say that. I haven't even watched the programme. But of course, I'm putting it out there as something that's in the news a lot so that you can reflect on it. Are morals true? Is social media true? Is politics true? When you have people appearing on the television saying that you should believe this, is that true? And of course, from my own perspective, is religion true? Is it something that is, again, something that just is made up and makes sense? Now, we've come back to this a number of times in these talks, and I'm going to have to pull this one together because time is running out on us. So I challenge you to reflect and to question and to ask yourself, when you are faced with things, are you faced with things that are true because they make sense to you? And in which case, how do they make sense? Hope you like that. Watch things critically, question things critically. See you again. Take care.